When people ask me about the book and my particular approach to the topic, one of the things that I point out is that even though we have a lot of energy devoted right now to taking care of and looking at the experience of young children with food allergies, these young children with food allergies are going to become teenagers with food allergies, maybe 20-somethings traveling alone for the first time with food allergies, and someday full-grown adults trying to plan families and households of their own. And so one of the things that I wanted to do with this book was look past that era of childhood and into some of the more complicated issues that face us, certainly when we're traveling abroad, and in the section I'm about to read, in the college years. When I was younger, eating outside the house was a family affair. My mother knew my allergies better than I did, so she did the ordering. No matter how careful we were, there were dozens of evenings derailed by attacks. My mother breaking out the Benadryl, my father interrogating the chef, and if pills didn't work, driving to a hospital where we could hang out in the ER lobby until my airway opened again. Just breathe, my father told me on one outing as I curled up in his lap, apologizing over and over for wasting our tickets to an art exhibit, a trip we'd planned for weeks with my grandparents. Calm down, just breathe. Even in high school, when friends took to dinner and movie nights, I stayed wedded to the 3-person unit that managed what I ate and took care of me when something went wrong. In my parents' absence, I might order French fries, and there was one Japanese restaurant near school where I could trust the vegetable and chicken tempura. But that was it. Nothing else was worth the risk. You cannot make it through college on 4 years of potatoes. So before I took up residence on the grounds of the University of Virginia, my parents arranged a meeting with a supervisor who shared the entire index of recipes used in UVA's cafeterias. "We'll take care of her," she promised. The reality was less promising. I'd venture to the dining hall and watch servers use tongs to pass out cornbread, then use the same pair of tongs to serve me an ear of corn. I'd look down at a plate now contaminated with buttermilk crumbs, shake my head, get a new plate, and start again. Theoretically, the university had pledged to my parents that Aramark would have a safe protein available at every dinner shift. The safe protein in question turned out to be completely unseasoned cod. 2 slabs every time. Part of the problem was that the dining hall was open for 3-hour stretches. Neither the staff nor I knew when I would arrive from day to day. Sometimes no one had remembered to defrost the fish or fire the plate, meaning a 20-minute wait before it could be ready, which is an eternity in college time. More often, the dish had been nuked, cling-wrapped, and stashed under a heat lamp at least an hour before I arrived. As I peeled off the covering, a stream of fishy, lukewarm condensation would run onto my plastic tray. The flesh would be rubbery to the touch. "My God," someone at the table would say, "what is that?" The day that broke me was when I walked in to hear a man in a plastic hairnet call back into the kitchen, "Yo, the fish girl's here." I took to dishing up white rice instead, ladled with chickpeas from the salad bar. But that worked only if I got to the salad bar before other students had contaminated the bins with drips of ranch dressing, which always seemed to slop out of the ladle as it poured, or shreds of cheddar cheese. When that happened, my refuge was a bowl of dry corn pops. I had to suck on them before chewing them so that they didn't cut up the roof of my mouth. My allergies took one of dorm life's great culinary gifts, breakfast for dinner, and rendered it punitive. Facing these culinary disasters, I couldn't resist taking a chance on the recipe du jour from time to time, asking first if it was Sandra friendly. My first semester at school, on the first weekend, my long-distance boyfriend came to visit. I was trying to impress him with how well I'd acclimated to being away from home. When he said the risotto looked good, I asked the server if it had any dairy in it. She assured me it didn't. I got a heaping plateful. "They take good care of me here," I bragged. I don't know why I thought eating risotto would impress him. Maybe I was afraid he wouldn't kiss me if I had cod breath. If I'd known the very definition of risotto stipulates cheese stirred into the rice as it cooks, I wouldn't have touched it. But I'd never heard of risotto. It looked like vegetables and rice, not that different from what I assembled myself via the salad bar. My tongue told another story. On the first bite, strands of cheese, which I realized what had been stretching from rice to fork, formed a strychnine web across the back of my throat. I took a long sip of water, continuing my serene chatter about classes as I assessed the damage. My boyfriend knew better than to believe my calm. "Sandra," he asked, "you okay?" This was how I learned that an ambulance squad can reach any building on UVA's grounds in 10 minutes, using paved shortcuts specifically designed for quick access. They came in with a wheelchair. Though my vision was blurring and I felt woozy, I refused. I was not going to be seen carted out of Newcomb Hall. "Just use the chair," my boyfriend pleaded. But instead, I marched out of the dining hall on my own feet with my boyfriend and a 4-person EMS team trailing behind me. "Slow down," said the tech, wheeling the chair. No way. I was hoping that if I walked fast enough, people would not realize they were there with me. In my mind, this was like some slow-motion Scorsese chase scene. Odds are that the tech was no more than a foot behind me, poised to catch me in case I collapsed backward. The sequence that followed was one that would become familiar in the 4 years to come. Landing in the waiting room of the University of Virginia Hospital with its drooping potted palms and out-of-date copies of Sports Illustrated. Getting a dirty look from the father of a 6-year-old with a broken arm who had been waiting for an hour while I went straight in. Potential anaphylaxis goes to the top of the triage list. Refusing an IV because I dread the bruise, followed by a lecture on refusing IVs. Benadryl, Zyrtec, and hours of lonely, bored, not allowed to fall asleep, waiting on an ER cot, while my boyfriend, equally lonely and bored, waited in the lobby. A man on the other side of a curtain kept whimpering about his leg. The next time I went to the dining hall, they put out the plate of fish before I even had the chance to ask. I sometimes took the bus to Harris Teeter for groceries, but I had nowhere to keep food, nowhere to cook it, and no money to spend. Besides, for the first time in my life, staying in to eat was no protection against the reach of dairy. My roommate was a nice Montana girl who liked pizza. Sometimes she'd talk on the phone while eating a slice. If I used the same phone to make a call, even hours later, oil left on the receiver raised hives all along my chin and cheek. This led to an awkward lecture about keeping surfaces clean. In every dorm, someone gets stuck with the lame roommate assignment. Once you have uttered the phrase baby wipes to another 18-year-old, face it, you are the lame roommate assignment. Whenever my mother heard about these reactions, she was furious on my behalf. One morning, I explained I had missed her phone call the night before because I'd been inadvertently exiled from our suite when my roommate popped buttered popcorn in the microwave right by my bed. She told me to be more assertive. "This is a matter of life and death," she said. "They have to understand that." But I wanted so badly to be something other than the fussy one. 4 years of college and countless reactions never quashed the dream that I could be just another UVA who in all her sloppy glory. At a post-graduation beach week, my drunken housemates decided to turn beer pong into White Russian pong, sending a spray of milk and Kahlua into the air every time someone plunked a ping pong ball into a solo cup. I didn't object. I stood by, cheering for a team, not touching anything, hoping for the best. After an hour, so much milk had been splashed about that I started to react. On autopilot, I ordered my boyfriend to drive to a nearby ER, where I hung out in the lobby, waiting for the Benadryl to work. He settled in and watched cable TV. I lay down on a scratchy couch nearby, stared at the ceiling, and tried to relax. I didn't fit in anyone's lap anymore. No one knew to say, breathe, just breathe. The protective bubble of life with my family had burst, and I was on my own. Thank you.